get started. For those of you who don't know, my name's Chris Brewerton. I head up the Chamber of Commerce in Lichfield, Tamworth and Sutton Coldfield. Obviously got my Lichfield and Tamworth hat on today. It's an absolute pleasure to be welcoming Craig Jordan from Lichfield District Council and Matt Fletcher from Tamworth Borough Council, really to give a bit of an update on some of the work they've been doing as organisations, supporting businesses in their specific areas around the COVID-19 crisis, but also looking towards really as we hopefully move forward in terms of reopening the areas and reopening the economy, I suppose, across our group. Both Craig and Matt have been a huge help to me personally and the Chamber in general for many, many years. And I'm sure a lot of you have come across in various discussions and events and various other areas that we've worked with them on over the last few years. As I said, we're very keen on the questions. I know Matt has already said that any tricky ones will be automatically passed to Craig, as he is the senior person in terms of time served. So send them in. But joking aside, we very much want to encourage questions and make the final sort of 20 minutes of this webinar a real opportunity for us to discuss some of the issues that are affecting businesses in Lichfield and Tamworth. I know Matt and Craig are obviously very keen to answer those questions and give some thoughts and ideas on the council's view. You'll see the chat box on the right hand side of your screen. There is a question tab, a question logo. So through the course of the two presentations, if you have any questions that come to mind, please put them in the box, and then following those two presentations, Jess, who is sort of in the background ensuring this runs all smoothly, will then flash them up on screen as we go through the Q&A. So yes, thank you all again for attending, and I will introduce first Craig Jordan, who is Head of Economic Growth and Development for Lichfield District Council. 15 years at the council now for Craig, and his sort of overarching role really is around coordinating the activities across the council which feed into their economic agenda, which can come in many forms, and hopefully the presentation will give you a bit of an insight into where the Lichfield Council currently are. Craig, over to you. Thanks very much, and I will look forward to seeing you speaking to you again later. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you for the invite to come and speak to you today, and hopefully answer some of the questions that are posed, although the difficult ones, as I say, we'll pass back to Tamworth in the spirit of cooperation there between us. Only joking, Matt. I'd like to take you through just a few slides just to set the context for where we feel we are in the situation at the moment in terms of our businesses and local economy. I've titled my first slide Reopening for Business, which I think is what we all want to achieve, for those of us who are desperate to see us get back to where we were pre-CV-19, but also looking forward in a positive light and making sure that we take the opportunities that do present themselves to us so that we can make sure that our economy grows and develops, and we provide the jobs and employment that we know our residents desire. So I've got about 4 slides, which I'll rush through quickly because we can have PowerPoint overload, and I think people want to get onto the question and answer session as quickly as possible. So I'll look at the impact on Lichfield District that CV-19 has had. We'll start to look at what we call our response phase, which is our immediate reaction to the problems that have arisen and the issues and the challenges. Then start to talk about the restoration of our services, particularly as a council, and where we can support and aid business and local residents in the economy. And then what we are looking at the moment, very much so, is as we come out of lockdown and we start to look at the longer term recovery plans and actions that we need to put in place to, as I say, take advantage of the opportunities that present themselves, as well as address the problems that have emerged. So, Lichfield District, high proportion of retail, hospitality and visitor economy presence. We've wanted to ensure that, we've fully understood what the impact has been in terms of those business sectors, and it has been considerable. Unfortunately, compared with many other areas of the country with different sectoral basis, we have had taken a large hit. And therefore, what we've been trying to do is to fully understand what that would mean for the area and the district. And it's not only impacted upon businesses, it's also impacted upon the council itself, which is something to bear in mind. We've also been looking to understand what complying with the government guidance has actually meant. So in some cases, we've been talking about businesses furloughing. We've been talking about businesses starting to suffer in terms of income generation, and cash flow has been a considerable issue for them as well. So it's really fully understanding what we can do to help and assist business, residents and the local economy. And one of the main things we've been doing recently is making sure that we've been able to deliver the government's aid as quickly as possible. So you can see there that we've been making grant payments to a lot of local businesses that qualify under the Small Business Grant Scheme and the scheme that's been set up for retail, hospitality and tourism support. So we'd identified about 1,600 businesses within the district which qualified under that regime. And as of the last few days, we've paid out nearly 90%, which is a significant figure and compares well both regionally and nationally. I'd like to pay credit to my colleagues, Jonathan Percival and Sophie Carroll, who work in our ED team here, together with our revenues team and finance teams, who've done a wonderful job in making sure that those grants have been paid out as quickly as possible. It's not been an easy task. Lichfield, like all of the authorities, have found it difficult to pin down everybody who qualifies. And again, a message I would put out to those people who feel that they qualify and feel that they are eligible for grant aid, then please, look at information on our website and approach us, because we are finding it difficult finding that last 10% of businesses, for whatever reason, have not been able to access the monies. So I implore you, please make touch with us and make contact. So 90 million has been paid out. That's great, but that's only part of the issue. We've also been working with the Chamber, the FSB, LEPs, trade associations to fully understand what support and guidance businesses required in this last 7 or 8 weeks. And importantly, from a local authority perspective, we've been trying to make sure that we deliver our services as well in such a way that we provide that continuity and that support that business requires of us. And that's been a considerable effort on the part of colleagues within different services within the authority and working with our partners as well. So again, I'd like to thank everybody within the council and externally who's helped us to do exactly that. And hopefully that's been appreciated by business and our sectoral organisations who we've worked closely with, because it's been a great effort on everybody's part. And I think that just shows that as we come out into the restoration and recovery phase, as we're calling it, then we've got a positive future of working together in a collegiate, collaborative manner. So in terms of restoration and recovery, we are looking at restoring services and identifying the need for support going forward. We know that it's not just about the financial support that business and the economy needs. We're also looking at what kind of other support mechanisms are in place. It might be guidance, it might be signposting, it might be help with business plans. It might be looking to work with those who unfortunately have been made unemployed as a result of CV-19. How can we work with those people to find them new job opportunities? What can we do positively to support our local economy and work with business to identify new opportunities and to fill the gaps that have emerged as a result of the difficult times we find ourselves in? So to do that, we've started to do a piece of work which is a recovery action plan. A lot of authorities are doing this at the moment. I appreciate that, and you may get sick of hearing the words, but it really is about what positive actions we can all take collaboratively to deliver the support. We're looking at this in terms of 3 particular pillars which reflect our economic development strategy. Looking at people, looking at place and business. Place is very important for Lichfield District. Lichfield City itself within the district has a high profile regionally, and we'd like to think nationally. We need to get Lichfield working again as a city and a district. And what we're keen about there is making sure that all the factors that come together to present a prosperous, attractive, meaningful place are captured in our actions and our recovery plan. Importantly, we want to support people as well. It's important that we recognise that the impact of CV-19 is having an impact on people, individuals and communities. So it's essential there that we support the people agenda, as we call it, and we ensure we put things in place which allow people to get back into work, continue the work that they were doing, or identify new opportunities that would present themselves as a result of the economy and the economic situation that we find ourselves in as we come out of this. And then in terms of business, as I say, it may well not just be about funding, although clearly funding is an issue, but it might be about the other aspects that a business requires to get back on its feet or to establish itself, or may see as an opportunity of coming to the district because there's new investment opportunities. So that's the very much the basis of our economic recovery action plan that we talked about. To inform that, we're doing a lot of intelligence gathering at the moment. We're talking to business, we're talking to business organisations, we're using a lot of data which we obtained from government, and we're doing some empirical evidence gathering ourselves in terms of just understanding fully what the impact of CV19 has had on the area, and informing our recovery action plan lists with fully evidence-based data which can help us move forward in the right direction. And it's important we get that right, and I'm sure that there'll be some questions later as to whether the council is going in the right direction, and if not, then please let myself and colleagues know, because we need to understand fully from business what you want from us to help you, as I say, either get back on your feet or to look at new opportunities to invest in the district. We're conscious of the fact that we are now coming out of a lockdown phase, and there are two important dates coming up, the 1st of June and the 4th of July, which will resonate with a lot of people. We, on the back of the last statement made by government last week and Boris Johnson's announcement about the relaxation of a lot of the lockdown regulations, we're starting to put local policy in place which will allow us to open up our centres again, which are clearly crucial to a lot of people and the district as a whole, as well as our green spaces. And we're also looking just further ahead as to when we have the opportunity to welcome back visitors to Lichfield, the city and the district, and what we can do to work with our partners to put that in place so that people feel safe and secure to come here, access what we have to offer, and business, as it reopens, is able to serve its customers in a safe and secure manner. So that's a really important part of our job at the moment. And then just finally, what I'd like to say is what the council itself is doing from its perspective to help support the local economy and business. For those of you aware, we are bringing forward a master plan for Lichfield City Centre. That will be going to our members shortly for scrutiny and then hopefully adoption of the plan in July. As part of that, again, for those of you who know Lichfield well, we have a long-term plan for bringing forward the Birmingham Road site, which is adjacent to the District Council House here. You'll see that work is ongoing to enable or prepare the site for future redevelopment, and that is continuing as we speak. On the planning and development side, obviously we have an important local plan review which is ongoing. That's intended to set the framework for residential and commercial development going forward, and it's important that we progress that and we take account of the changed circumstances that maybe CV19 have presented to us. Likewise, with regards to planning applications, planning proposals, those are still continuing to come in, which is a positive sign. And I'm sure that as we go out of lockdown, we'll see a lot more activity. I'd like to think so, because Lichfield has always been an attractive place for the development industry to bring forward proposals. And obviously we need to reconcile that with the benefits and some of the disbenefits that may emerge. So planning is an important role here. Likewise, facilitating people coming back. We talk about our car parks and the infrastructure that we want to put in place. What we want to make sure is that, as I say, business is happy to deliver its services and has got all the full support of all the partners that are there to support the local economy. And we make sure that residents and visitors in due course will be able to come here and feel safe and secure and be able to use our car parks and the infrastructure in a way which means that, they will take advantage of the opportunities to do such that. So I've quickly whisked through those slides. I apologise if I've gone too long or if I've cut out a lot of things, but I just wanted to give you a flavour of the things that we're doing.
Thank you, Craig. That's wonderful and very much appreciated. And very, very clear and sort of, through those different levels of support. And I think, as you say, that planning and that awareness of issues will certainly feed into those those people, place, and the other areas that you mentioned. So, Craig, thank you very much. Some questions coming through, which is fantastic. Keep those coming as we now pass over to Matt Fletcher. So, Craig, if you could just cancel your video, brilliant, and bring Matt back on as well. And I'll quickly introduce Matt while he's coming on board with screen. There we go. Great skyline, I must say. We were joking that Craig would have to go and sit in front of the cathedral, which is a bit of a walk from the council offices. So you've got the skyline of Tamworth in the background. Intentional, I'm sure, Matt, a man of your image conscious thoughts. But thank you. So yeah, just a quick introduction to Matt, Head of Economic Development and Regeneration at Tamworth Council. I've been at the council for over 13 years, and his role really is around focusing on the economic development and business support for Tamworth as a district. Just on that, I wanted to quickly say, the support that Tamworth and Lichfield Council, backed by sort of upwards of nearly 20 people in their direct sort of reporting to Craig and Matt. Certainly in the time I've been involved in the area in sort of last 18 months, has really struck the passion and the support for the area really is strong. And I think, on my side, I think that's really been a positive part of the Chamber's involvement with both councils. And you can see, and I'm sure a lot of you will have come across a lot of the people that work with Matt and Craig in delivering that. And I know Craig mentioned a couple of names in his presentation that I'm sure Matt has a similar view. So fantastic. Thanks, Matt, so much for joining us. I will pass over to you now. And I say, continue with the questions. Great to see there's some coming through. And then we'll bring back Craig following Matt's presentation, and then we'll open the floor for questions. So over to you, Matt. Thank you.
Thanks, Chris. Well, there's not a lot left for me to say, really, because I think Craig's covered a lot of it. And, Craig's presentation was really thorough and actually mirrors a lot of what Tamworth Borough Council is doing as well at the higher level. So I thought what I'd focus on really is a few more sort of stats and figures around where we are and the approach sort of we've taken on a sort of more business support basis, really. So the areas I'm sort of going to cover today really are specifically, I know a lot of businesses have been naturally interested in this, is the actual COVID-19 grants. Then I'll focus on how we and Tamworth and Lichfield have focused on business support. I'll focus on recovery, and then from a Tamworth perspective as well, like Craig, we've got a strong focus on future regeneration, particularly around our town centre. So in terms of our COVID-19 grants, very similar position to Craig. As a smaller authority, we've had about 1,100-ish businesses that are eligible for grants. And you can see there from the figures that I've just put up that about 88% of those as of Wednesday were paid out. So from the fact that we were given the money on the 1st of April by government, most of that was got to the businesses that were eligible for it within a very short time period, within 6 weeks. And we're just finally now working with people like the Chamber of Commerce, Federation of Small Businesses to get to those businesses. As you can see there, 74 for the small business grant and 51 for the retail that haven't for some reason accessed it. So the approach we've taken really as councils is to be as proactive as possible. So like all businesses, we had to go from office working to home working overnight. But in that period, I think both councils, and speaking from Tamworth's point of view, we mobilised pretty much our whole team across my area and finance and revenues to get these grants out to businesses. I mean, it goes without saying that through that process, there have been some challenges. Some people aren't eligible. Some people weren't aware that this was actually a grant and a loan. And, within our own structures, having to communicate across different areas, did have its challenges and did have its priorities. And I think particularly the government guidance changed quite a lot in the early days. So, we were having to respond to that quite quickly. I think I won't dwell too much on the COVID-19 grants, but what is important to say is that those people that weren't eligible for them, but do have premises costs, so, for example, weren't a liable ratepayer, government have launched a discretionary fund, which as councils we're all working up now. So, there is a bit of support coming there for those people that have had premises costs that weren't eligible for the previous one. But we'll be launching more details about that hopefully in the next couple of weeks. So yeah, in terms of business support, what both councils, as we've got a shared service, have been doing is ensuring that we are communicating, talking to businesses and signposting some relevant support. A lot of cases, councils aren't necessarily the first point of call, but we have, in addition to the COVID-19 calls and inquiries, my team have seen around 200 separate inquiries from anything from redundancy support to furloughing, even to actually skills, or as Craig said, inward investment. So actually we've seen the whole range of inquiries. That's quite surprising. Some businesses obviously are finding it incredibly challenging, yet on the other hand, we're actually having a lot of inquiries about things like office space, and also how to get out word that they're recruiting, because some businesses are adapting and being successful where they can. Our role has been very much key in coordinating activity with people like the growth hubs, with government, with other funds, to make sure really, if people do fall through the cracks, if there's something that they can't apply for, we'll try and find an answer for them or a way round. And that gap analysis, if there is that gap, is really important, and we're feeding that back to government, we're feeding that back to people like the local enterprise partnerships in Staffordshire and Birmingham, people who can design business support schemes that will help people who are the most in need. So in terms of recovery, I think Tamworth being slightly smaller district and very focused around the town centre, the town centre is one of our primary recovery strategies. And I can see a few questions there already, but one of our approach, very similar to Craig, will be about adopting in the next couple of weeks recovery strategies. But we're already working closely with people like the market operator, looking at our street trading policy, and also large landlords like Anchorside, Co-op, and owners of middle entry, to see how that will work, and how businesses can be supported in the town centre, as well as the wider businesses out on the industrial estates. And hopefully what we're ready to adapt to then is whatever comes in the next sort of 6 months from government in terms of business support and guidance. We'll be in a position with our partners to be able to support businesses to recover and grow as quickly as possible. I think I'll just quickly mention some of the regeneration priorities that we're looking at, because these haven't changed. And I think Tamworth particularly is in the final stages of applying for the Future High Streets Fund. And that will be, a grant fund from government to make some physical changes to the town centre. And hopefully we'll be submitting that in July and then here in September, which will hopefully make quite a significant change to the work, both the town centre before COVID, and actually I think it will benefit it even more after the current situation. And something we're still looking at really is our Gungate master plan. So for those of you know Tamworth, that's the area around the police station. So I think the focus there is that the council's trying to still give confidence that whilst all these other areas are still going on, we've still got a focus about what's happening in the town, and actually the current situation focuses the mind around what should be happening in those areas and what needs to be done for future growth. And I've just flicked up a few slides here about sort of our priorities from a Tamworth perspective, around the fact, those that it quite well, there's a limited number of historical heritage buildings left, and the bottom right picture shows a mixture of sort of historical development from the 50s onwards, really. So that sort of shows the scale of challenge we've got facing us in that regards. And then here's just a quick map of quite a substantial area here that it's not that whole area, but incorporates at the north the police station, area and the Magistrates Court, and further south, the car parks that are in council ownership. So hopefully we'll be going out to consultation on that in the next couple of months to give people an idea of what we're doing. And then really, some of our specific regeneration priorities, that really are sort of supported by the current situation are there really. So getting rid of excess retail floor space, ensuring those public links between the town centre and our castle grounds are as good as they can be, ensure that our heritage is top of the priorities, and that everything we're doing makes sense and links. And then we're looking at how we can improve the market. And I think, in the current situation, it's even more important how we do that, and look at the town centre, how it works, and look at potential changes. I think this whole situation will make everyone look at their business differently. And I think the reality is some businesses won't come back how they used to trade because they've found more innovative ways to do it, or demand has died off, or they just want to. They've had a rethink. So I think from my perspective, Chris, I think I don't want to go over too much what Craig said, because I think that was excellent and mirrors what Tamworth said. So I hope that's of interest and use, and I'm happy to take questions.
Brilliant, thank you, Matt. No, that's great, and I think again, as you say, there's a real connection, much like Lichfield, and a real passion for the area, and I think that getting that message out, as things reopen, I think is important, isn't it? So I'll bring back Craig as well, and Matthew, thank you very much to you both. I can see the questions have been coming thick and fast, which is brilliant. So we'll start with those first and foremost. Jess, if you could start the question mode. There we go, just like magic. And the first question, I'd seen that Andy Farrington had mentioned how good the support was, which is great, and we see that one. So how can, or what is the process for local business to get contracts with Lichfield and Tamworth Council to provide services? That's from Louise, who owns a training centre that delivers health and safety, food safety, and cross infection courses that I'm sure will be quite important for that. So I'll pass that to Matt, or let's say Matt first, and we'll swap as we go. So Matt first. Any ideas or any advice to Louise?
Yeah, I mean, from a Tamworth perspective, we've got an online portal that most of our sort of larger contracts on. And I think that's quite a specific question, but really within this question, basically, if we can take the details, we can pass that on to the relevant department, or I can give the names of the relevant people, because like I said, most of the larger contracts will be put out, but it's worth having a discussion with the relevant client departments. I mean, Tamworth and Lichfield share a health and safety function anyway, so that's something we can signpost to really. But there isn't, other than registering from a Tamworth perspective, and I think Lichfield has something similar on our procurement platform to see what comes up. The best thing to do is make contact with the relevant departments and create a relationship and see what's coming up.
I suppose there is going to be a change, sort of, those requirements on health and safety just for businesses in general will be a big change as well, won't it, Matt? So no, I appreciate that. We'll send that over to, we'll publicise that portal as well. And thanks for the question, Louise. So we'll go to the next one. So yeah, Rob Holder. I have no doubt that people, place and business will receive enormous immediate ongoing support. What specifically is being done to reinstate consumer confidence and reassure them that the plans in place will ensure that it's safe for them to start accessing our businesses? Craig, if I could pass that one to you, probably around Visit Lichfield and that area as well, perhaps is another way to discuss that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Chris. So the council in the last few days has published a policy entitled Safer Urban Centres and Green Spaces, which reflects national guidance. We bring it down to local level and interpret that guidance so that we put in place the measures which will allow people to come safely into our centres and make access to our green spaces, our parks. So examples of the things that we're doing is setting up our car parks so that people can access them without having to come into contact with each other. They can park safely and they can securely move around our centres and green spaces. We're putting lots of signage up to ensure that people do not, again, come into enclosed spaces and they maintain social distancing. we're advertising the fact that we will be limiting access to certain facilities. So lifts within our car parks will be limited to 2 people at any one time, or a family if children are included. We're making sure that we are directing people in the safest routes possible so that they can feel secure when they move around our attractions in our city centre and other centres. So we're doing a number of things, and I would advise people to go onto our website. We've got a 10-measure list of things that we're undertaking, which people can read, and hopefully that will give them the confidence to come into the district as and when they're permitted to do so.
Yeah, absolutely. And Matt, your thoughts on that? Again, from a Tamworth point of view, I suppose Lichfield has got that Visit Lichfield arm and the bid set up. Obviously, Tamworth doesn't have that as much, but on the confidence side, how important do you see that confidence being built by everyone, I suppose, across the economy? How important is that?
Yeah, I think that's absolutely the primary thing at the moment. You know, with all the actions we can take, the most important thing is that people have confidence to resume their lives in whatever way that is. And I think, from my perspective, mirror Craig, we'll be doing very similar things. And from our point of view, I think it's about communication and partnership working, with yourselves, with the Federation of Small Business. As I said in my presentation, a place is made up by loads of different people, from businesses to residents to the market to different landowners, and I think the council has a role there in trying to coordinate and give that confidence. So I was just on a phone call with the manager of Anchorside yesterday to make sure that his plans, and our plans, all stack up, and likewise with the county council, have a role around highways as well. So I think, I think confidence and people feeling safe in their ability to go about their lives, I'll say the word normal, but what is the new normal, is absolutely vital. All of us, whether we're going into an office, whether we're putting our children back into nurseries, these are important parts of the economy, and you have to feel confident and safe that we're being looked at. And what I have to say is, sorry to waffle on, but what I have seen, which really makes me proud, is the way that the business community and the community have all pulled together to support each other. And I think what I've seen is just positivity. And even with the COVID grants, where I understand there's frustration around times, we have never had such good feedback and interaction with the business community. So I think the business community have to be proud about the way they've handled it as well. I think it's been superb.
Yeah, I don't know. There's a number of people on the delegate list here today that have done their bit around promoting, Lichfield and Tamworth and the wider district. And I think, from a chamber point of view, I suppose, that's probably over to us a little bit to make sure that we're promoting and encouraging our members to talk about when they are reopening and when they are having success. It's very much around the council doing that background work and setting up those areas so that then business can move forward. And I think to everyone on the call, I would certainly say, and I know Anne-Marie, our relationship manager, is on the call as well, is to talk to us as a chamber and talk to us about how we can help you promote your business to put out that confidence and that positivity. And that, I'm sure, will be happening across the UK, not just in Lichfield and Tamworth. But great question. Thanks very much for that, Rob. So next question, as I try and keep up. Yes, Louise Johnson Rose, UK surveyors. So as a company, we've provided planning and services for 10 years, and we'll be keen to work closely with Lichfield. Historically, many London boroughs have been worked with. How can UK surveyors work closer to stay ahead of the changes within planning policy framework? So a similar question to Louise. I suppose we'll certainly share the online portal and that area. And I know Lisa is also on the call from Visit Lichfield, who I'm sure will be doing a lot of work to encourage the tourism side of things. I suppose to Matt or to Craig, again, that local working at a local side, probably a question from me as well. How important is the council's ongoing commitment to some of those planning investment projects to continue to build that confidence? And as we were saying just before the webinar started, it's getting people back to work on projects. How important do you both see some of your projects in that process? Probably Craig first.
Okay, so I know from the question that it probably directed more to Tamworth than Lichfield, but just in a generic fashion, I think it's vital, it's crucial. I think we're part of the confidence agenda, as we like to call it. You know, the council can be seen to be doing things, and obviously I referred earlier to the Birmingham Road site and our master planning, then I think that shows a positive light to the rest of the world and our local residents and businesses that we are open to business, as we sort of titled our presentation at the beginning. So we're looking to give that confidence to both residents and businesses within the district, but also those who may be thinking, well, you know, where do we invest in the future? Or where can we create new opportunities, given that some people will be better off than others, and some businesses will be in more favourable positions. So I think it does set things in the right light. It shows that we are confident that we are going to invest in our area and the future of our residents and business.
Yeah, and Matt, again, similar thoughts from yourself on some of the development areas you're working at.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just looking at the question there from Julie, and I think, you know, from my perspective, physical regeneration is important because it's the long-term changes. So I appreciate it takes time, but it's important to give people the confidence that no, we'll adapt to how town centres and places will change. You know, but I think the point there, you know, the council, I think we've said this, both councils have a role to play in supporting businesses, particularly within our town centres. But I think we can't lose sight of the fact that here we're a stakeholder like everyone else. And so whilst we can help with the guidance, we can help with the grant funding, you know, I think as well, what we've particularly seen in Tamworth, which is great, is the businesses supporting each other and supporting themselves. So, you know, I think collaboratively we can, you know, we can certainly help provide good practice, support on the guidance, you know, be a central point there for trying to communicate things out through our communication channels like Visit Tamworth or Visit Lichfield or Twitter. But I think really, it's a collective issue that everyone needs to address. I think the point of town centres, though, to me, I think there's a real opportunity for town centre businesses and people with a passion for that to, you know, to get behind things, because I certainly, myself, and I know a lot of friends, have gone to sort of more localised shopping. You know, I'm in the council office today, and my primary shop will be in the town centre, you know, safely, of course. But, you know, so I think really, whilst the council has a role there in terms of leadership and articulating some of the things we need to see, this is a very fluid and new situation. And I think businesses have to work with each other the best they can. And we're here to try and link that up and engage it, you know, and engage people with each other. So, you know, I think we're all in this together. And absolutely, you know, we can only, you know, we can provide certain things and tools within our ability, but councils still have to remain at that sort of that regulatory and statutory level in many cases, where businesses and other partners can often act more rapidly, and so we can help enable that.
Absolutely, no, I agree, and I think, well, yeah, Julie and many businesses in Tamworth, and so too Lichfield, but certainly the visibility from Tamworth has been absolutely, you know, really inspiring, and that's, as you say, Matt, down to business owners themselves going and saying, right, what are we going to do for the town? And I think that's certainly shone a very positive light on both areas in the last few weeks, certainly. I think one of the areas I wanted to pick up as well was Rob Holder's question around, I don't know if Jess can find that. Yeah, do we have any visibility yet of businesses in there that we know won't come out of recovery and the potential impact for the region? I think, as you say, right, you know, as your question looks, it is a little bit early days, but I think, again, the Chamber's messaging around that is very much about telling us those challenges and those struggles that you're having through our quarterly business review, through our feedback channels, and yeah, when we know and when the sort of data comes through, I suppose we'll see. But again, a bit of a more of a tricky question, but I will certainly pass it to Matt and to Craig. So Craig first, if you could just have a bit of an idea about your view of that.
Yeah, I think it'd be unfair to name individual businesses or to even seek to go there in a forum like this today. But I think the general issue here is gathering intelligence on the state of our economy and businesses that make up that economy. And I think I referenced in my presentation earlier that that's exactly what we're doing at the moment. we're working with colleagues, we're working with our partners, we're trying to obtain as much information and data as possible to be able to draw that picture together of where aid and support will necessarily be needed, and where we can direct it to going forward. But I know we appreciate that some sectors will be suffering, and there will be some unfortunate businesses that will go bust, and that is a difficult situation. And the reality is that there may be some issues that we will need to address, which we don't want to, but we'll have to, and that's the position we find ourselves in. But having said that, I'd like to think that the support that the government has given, plus the support that's being given at a sub-regional level, including from the two councils, will be sufficient to allow a lot of businesses to come out of this in a more positive light and be able to continue their business going forward. And then we can focus our attentions on making sure that where we do have to intervene, we do so making the best of the resources available to us.
Thank you, Craig. And Matt, again, quickly your thoughts on that question. Obviously, building on some of the areas that Craig just mentioned.
Yeah, same as Craig, really. I think it's a bit too early to judge the potential impact. I mean, what is worrying nationally, we are starting to see larger numbers of redundancies coming forward. But mirror Craig's point, really, we'll just have to watch those as they come and see what happens. I think though, I think what we'll see is there'll be a delayed impact of whatever happens, as markets either recover or don't recover. So I think, we're starting to see some national redundancy figures, aren't we? But this is a global phenomenon, so I'm expecting some of the bigger businesses to be initially sort of be the bellwethers. But we'll just have to, we won't know really. It will depend as well a bit on how government approaches its restrictions in the next sort of 2 months, really.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's a fair point, and I say it's something that I'm sure as all stakeholders in the economy in the local area will be very aware of that, and obviously keeping a strong view of that area. So moving on to further questions. Would free car parking in the short term be possible to start to bring people back into the city/town? Obviously, a regular point of discussion for many councils. But Matt, first to you.
Yeah, so Tamworth Borough Council car parking is free. It's been free, I think, since, don't quote me on this, but I think since April, certainly. And then, we're, as Craig said, we've risk assessed our car parks. We are looking at different machines to ensure that, you don't need to put coins in, so you don't need to touch them. We're looking at, we've already got pay via app. So, from a Tamworth Borough Council point of view, I can't speak for Lichfield districts, but our car parks have been free for quite a considerable time. And, I guess I'm not privy to this information yet, but we'll look at rephasing that when appropriate.
And Craig?
Yes, unlike Tamworth, we've kept our pay regime in place. I think one of the issues and the difficulties for members has been to reconcile the guidance, which is about encouraging people not to be coming together and congregating until such time as it is safe and secure, with balancing that of the need to ensure that people who are key workers can have access to services and facilities to keep the economy and other things going in the 8 weeks that we've been in lockdown. As we come out of this, I think there is going to be a debate within the council as to where we position ourselves with parking going forward. Again, we do want to make sure that the parking is there to meet people's needs. I think it's only fair to say, though, that as a council, like all authorities, we do depend on our car parking income as part of our revenue. And therefore, if we were to move to a position of free car parking, then that would be a consideration for our members in terms of the total impact it would have, not just on the economy as a whole, but the district council and its finances.
Thanks, Craig. I appreciate that. Perfect. Rob Holder, another question with regards to John Lewis. So John Lewis Ventura was hitting 30% increases just before lockdown and is currently readying for reopening, but no confirmed date yet. Matt, I suppose, I'm sure you've been in touch, as you mentioned, with Ankerside. What is the situation with a lot of the shopping sort of centres and areas around the town? And is there any update you could give on that?
Do you want me to start on that one?
Yeah, perfect.
I mean, from only what I've heard, obviously, I can only speak about Anchorside. A lot of retailers are planning to open up from the 1st of June, dependent on what's said by the Prime Minister. You know, and I think a lot of them are making relevant adjustments to their businesses where needed. You know, so I think you know, I think we'll see a gradual opening of people's confidence, and as they see more and more people open and how more and more people adapt, I think that's the most important thing. But I think, you know, coming back to a point earlier, one thing where, you know, councils will need to help is those smaller retailer businesses, you know, where, you know, they will struggle because of naturally of their space, and they don't have the resources some of the bigger ones. So we'll work closely with local business groups and partners to make sure, you know, we get that support to them, you know, or signpost them to the right support where we can, you know.
Yeah, and Craig, just to come in on that, obviously, again, Lichfield and Tamworth, while quite close, are quite different in terms of the makeup of their business sort of centre in the town. And yeah, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so again, mirroring Tamworth, you know, we're starting to see businesses start to prepare for next week, and hopefully the right messages come from the Prime Minister to allow those businesses to open in a safe, secure manner. And as I said earlier, we are doing our best to work with those businesses to facilitate that and ensure that prospective customers feel confident enough to come into our centres and use our facilities. Obviously, we've got a slightly different sectoral makeup to Tamworth, and we're looking slightly longer term in terms of the visitor attractions and visitors coming to Lichfield, particularly the city. And we're working with our partners. We've established a new place board, which is very much about working with all of the attractions across the district to provide a collegiate, collaborative approach to ensuring that they open safely, businesses themselves feel safe in opening, and we get the right message out to our prospective customers that, you know, you can come here, you can access things, you can feel safe, and we all together can do business.
Brilliant. Okay, no, thank you, Craig. So I'd say last call on questions. We've got 5 or so minutes left. So obviously we've covered Rob's, obviously Andy Farrington, Claire's putting her support Lichfield website on the chat, which is brilliant. And yeah, Andy really saying about how you need to change your business to survive. I think, yeah, that's a very fair point, Andy, and one that is vitally important in these times. So yeah, last few questions. Yes, if we just take James's. So if you're not able to fully allocate all the small business, retail, hospitality, leisure grants, do you anticipate councils being able to retain the unallocated funds and then having some discretion on how this money is allocated, or do you think the government will require the money to be returned? High level policy question that. Over to Craig first, we'll go.
Thanks, Chris. Well, if I've read the guidance right, the monies that we are allowed to spend, we will be looking to allocate to those businesses that, first of all, should have been paid out under the small business grant scheme or retail, hospitality, tourism opportunities. And then if there is a need to allocate further monies, then we'll be making those available through the discretionary scheme that as mentioned earlier. The difficulty here, I suppose, is ensuring that we come up with a policy, and this applies across the country, local policies which do actually meet the needs of those businesses that unfortunately have not been able to qualify under the other regimes to date, and that they get the money that's essential for them to be supported. So it's a good question. I'm not sure I'm in the best place to answer it, but that's probably one for ministers. But hopefully we can make use of the 19 million that we've been given in Lichfield, plus the 5% allocation, which supposedly is intended to go to those businesses that have not been successful so far.
No, thank you, Craig. And Matt, I'll pass over to you, and if you could give your final thoughts as well on some of the themes raised, and then we'll just go back to Craig for his last thoughts, and then we'll wrap up. So, Matt, over to you.
Yeah, mirroring Craig, really, I can't add anything else on that other than the fact that we've got this discretionary fund with guidance from government. And I think the most important thing from my perspective is the business community is continue what's being done, which is, you know, I think that level of collaboration between each other, that understanding that things are very fluid. I mean, Craig will know that, you know, guidance from government is coming in thick and fast on a daily basis, and you know, we're having to look at that as a whole council services. So there will be some things that won't be as good as other things because we're having to prioritise, you know, simple things, you know, as waste collection, for example, bins, you know, with people being home, there's been an increase in, you know, litter bins being used. So, you know, it's things like that really. And I think, but the councils, you know, certainly Craig and I share the same views around our teams are here to support and signpost and communicate for businesses where we can. And whilst we have, you know, local differences in our economy, that commitment there to ensure we get businesses the support they can, or give them an honest answer, or at least listen to them, you know, we can definitely commit to that. And, you know, certainly my team, I'm very proud of them, the way they've, you know, sort of gone above and beyond at all hours to try and make sure businesses get their grants and get the support. So, yeah, I just thank all the businesses so far for their sort of patience and work together, and let's continue it really into the near future.
Wonderful. Thank you, Matthew. And to finish with Craig, again, I suppose repeating Matt's views, but yeah, your final thought, and then we'll
I was just going to say that I think Matt has eloquently put what I was going to say myself. So, you know, share everything that he said there. I think what is important though is we do go forward together. The council is a business in itself. It needs to look at how it generates revenues and it meets its costs. We want to play an active role in boosting and supporting our local economy and supporting our residents and our businesses. So what we are doing at the moment is putting those plans in place. We're talking to people, but we want to understand fully what the impact has been and where the opportunities exist for us to come together going forward with our businesses, and where we can capture any new investment. So please, if you want to dialogue with the District Council, speak to myself, make contact with my colleagues Jonathan and Sophie. All the contact details are on our website, and we're more than happy to sit down with you and talk things, if not in person, then via Zoom.
Brilliant. Thank you. Wonderful. No, thanks so much. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Craig. A final sort of area from me is one last thank you really to all of the delegates that have come on board today and have been so active and so engaged with the conversation. It really is an important time for us all in Lichfield and Tamworth, but across the whole of Greater Birmingham, and the Chamber will certainly try our level best to support businesses where we can through communications, through various areas, and through webinars like these, which has really been quite inspiring here today to see people's passion for their areas and see the positive work and that's happened and will continue to happen over the area. Thank you all. We'll this webinar will be available on YouTube from probably Tuesday after the bank holiday, so Matt and Craig can reflect on their performance over the last half an hour. But again, I really appreciate their time. Thank you, everybody, and we'll see you all soon. Thank you.